we go backpacking in North Carolina with a group in Chad Wright. It was an unbelievable experience. I'm doing it another mission in September in Utah. So he shows up from Hawaii with clothes, but it's a backpacking trip. He has no, clothes. Clothes is in sandals and surf shorts. He doesn't actually have anything prepared, anything mountain related. No.
Well, they probably do it barefoot out in Hawaii, right?
Yeah. Well, you just wear sandals everywhere you go. So he shows up and he has to go to Cabela's.
Sure.
Or maybe he goes to Bass Pro Shop, one of the two. He's never been to a Bass Pro Shop before. So I tell him, dude, you are in for an experience.
Oh, yeah.
And you're going to be there a long time. So he's at Bass Pro Shop for a few hours buying, spending $1,000 on hiking boots and rain pants and a jacket. He has to get everything.
Yeah.
So I let him borrow my truck. I come back. We go camping. We do all of that. He goes home. And I'm driving my truck and I open my door.
Start to look around.
Yeah, notice a Truex sticker on my door. And then I'll open up my console. There'll be a Truex sticker. On my back bumper, there's a Truex sticker. Yeah. There's probably 15 Truex stickers.
And those don't come off easy. They leave all the little scud behind.
No, I took the big obnoxious Truex sticker off on my bumper so it's not burned onto my paint.
Sure. Yeah.
But otherwise, they're still all there because I don't have 45 minutes.
Sure. Sit and scrub everything off.
Yeah, I need to put some time in my calendar, 45-minute block to
get these stickers off my damn truck.
Get all of his fucking stickers off of my truck. So that's the story.
Yeah.
And they're everywhere.
Sure.
They're on this table.
Yeah.
They're in the office.
Is there a story to all the dinosaurs hidden around the office?
No, I stayed in Airbnb with a bunch of little dinosaurs everywhere.
Sure. Yeah.
And I liked that.
Yeah. Made a little vibe.
Yes. So then I bought a package of dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Small plastic dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And we had a bunch of extras and we scattered them around the office for no reason.
I like it.
Everybody thinks I have reasons for the things I do. Sometimes that is true. Other times
there's fun.
No reason behind it.
Yeah.
Like, why'd you paint your skid steer like a cow? Because it's funny.
Just to piss off old white people.
And that exact. Yes. And boy, has it worked.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, you're down here from Indianapolis.
Yep.
You work in Indianapolis.
Sure do.
Can we talk about your age? Because I know you like to be low key about that.
Yeah. I feel comfortable enough that I can talk about it. Yeah.
Because the thing is, all of the older folks that you're worried about, they don't know what podcast.
Sure, that's true.
So there you go.
I'm all for it.
Yeah. So you're protected here.
Yeah.
So how old are you?
I'm 20.
You're 20. You can't even drink yet.
Can't even drink yet,
dude.
Friday night in Nashville.
Well, I mean, you can drink. Technically.
If I'm rolling with the BuildWitt boys.
No, BuildWitt does not condone.
Oh, that's underage. True.
I would never condone such a thing.
Yep.
I would never engage in such an act.
Sure. That'd be like painting your skid steer like a cow. Like, that's an investment. Why would you do that? You know? Doesn't make sense.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So you're 20 years old and you have a construction company.
Yep.
How many people do you have?
Right at the verge of 50 right now. I think 49 as of yesterday.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Payroll hits today. It's like 60 grand. It hurts.
Well, if you want to compare payroll numbers, I'm more than happy to. Yeah. So we had to get kind of like I was basically wondering what it costs to run the business 2 weeks.
Sure.
Or someone gave me this ridiculously big number of dollars and said, go figure out how much this is going to get you.
Sure.
I go to our finance guy and he says, oh, it'll get us 2 weeks. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. And then I sit there as I'm walking away. I'm like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
What happened? How did this happen? What just went on for that to be the number that gets me 2 weeks?
Yeah, exactly.
That's
yeah. And even just like when I sit down to do AI pay applications, like, okay, say this guy doesn't pay me and that guy doesn't pay me. How much do I have to keep on hand until, I expect an extra or whatever? And so just keeping your head around the realm of numbers as it grows so fast that's a job in and of itself.
When I was 20, I had no payroll. So in fairness, I'm a little ahead. How did you get started in the whole construction thing? Yeah,
it's a little bit of a unique story. So I don't come from construction, no family in construction, no real background in construction. The story is I was born in Wabash County, Indiana. So up north of Indianapolis, about 2 hours, farm family. So 6 of us kids, pretty large family farm operation. And that's what it was. Like we were raised a generation back. We had satellite. Sorry, not satellite. It was satellite TV. So we watched, Andy Griffith and I Dream of Jeannie and Gilligan's Island, and that's all we had, So it was the good farm background, lifestyle. So I loved that. I thought I was on the path to just come back to that. I was gonna go to Purdue, get an ag degree, come back to the family farm, and I enjoyed it. So long, sad story later, the family and the farm split up, and it didn't split up pretty, as family businesses often do, So everything went sideways in life and left me questioning, what's ahead for me. So we had left the county, and my family moved down to the Indianapolis market, a small town north of Indianapolis. So at the time we moved, I would have been I think a freshman in high school. So just uprooted from everything I enjoyed and loved. I farmed all the time. So nowhere to farm in Indianapolis, didn't have any real connections. So I went and got a job for a local excavating company, small time operation, 2 or 3 guys. So did a lot of septic systems and sewer repairs and, water hookups and those kind of things. And
how old were you?
At that time, I would have just turned 16.
Okay.
Barely had a driver's license. So, pretty quickly, I found a passion in it. It was everything I enjoyed about farming, or at least had the potential to be everything I enjoyed about farming. Being outside and the iron. Everybody loves the iron.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a sucker for it. And the dirt and the lifestyle. You're fighting with the weather and 7 days a week sometimes. So I did fall in love with that, and pretty quickly found that, hey, this could line up with the farming and with the lifestyle.
There's a lot of similarities between construction and farming.
Yep.
A lot of similarities. I think the big difference between construction, one of them is farming is easier to automate.
Yep.
And farming is certainly being automated. It's certain types of farming.
Yeah.
There's the heavy consolidation. There's a lot of automation. There's the whole immigrant workforce.
Sure.
That is a big part of farming. There's a few different factors there.
Yep. I'll agree with that to an extent, but there is something different. You said in a podcast a couple weeks ago about mass consolidation of agriculture. I don't know what it's like in the South, and I don't know what it's like for all the other commodities, but for the Corn Belt of the Midwest, there is a spirit that will never be broken of the small family farmers. So no matter how much ground China buys, or no matter how much ground Bill Gates buys, there's going to be several families in that county left that will be in it for the next 3 generations because they've been in it for 3 generations already. So, and you're going to have some fall and some break and this and that, but there's something in farming that once it's in your blood, you'll never get out. And that's how it is for me. Like I'll eventually be back into farming. So I don't know why.
Yeah.
There's years you make negative, crazy amount of money. It's super labor intensive, 120-hour weeks, but I love it.
That's another difference is, it's ridiculously labor intensive.
Yeah.
During certain
but it's
parts
seasonal.
of the year. Correct.
We'll grind our face off in construction 80 hours a week, every week all year.
Yeah.
Whereas in farming, it's 120-hour weeks for, 8 weeks in the spring and 12 weeks in the fall. So it's a little more seasonal in the push seasons,
Sure. Farming, it's fascinating too because people, I feel like, forget it is still a thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah, we used to do farming. Like,
Yeah.
Well, where does all your food come from?
Sure.
It's not just
1.5% of the population grows the food for the rest of the world, and that's just
wild.
Crazy.
And that's what that and infrastructure dictates how quickly the world can evolve.
Yep.
Because you have to feed everybody. Food,
Right.
water, shelter.
Yep.
You can't outpace food, water, and shelter.
Yep.
Which is, it's ridiculous.
And I'm proud to be in all 3 of those industries.
There you go. There you go. So you start to get the feel of construction.
Yep.
You're in high school.
Yep. So I would have been going into sophomore year, brand new school, no friends.
Yeah.
So I was never the kid that needed a lot of friends or, did extracurricular activities.
Oh, you had to move high schools.
Oh yeah.
That sucks.
I moved 2 hours away.
That sucks.
Freshman to sophomore year.
Yeah. Because you get situated freshman year.
Oh yeah.
And then all of that is thrown away.
Yeah.
And now you're back at square one sophomore year,
Yeah.
which is just for the sake of morale, not cool.
Yep. So now in the school I'd grown up at was, it was K through 12. Everybody knew everybody. I had 4 siblings ahead of me that came through the school. So like the reputation was made. I could just float through, get my assignments to look pretty and I was going to have no problems. But come into a new town, nobody knows my last name, no connections made. So little reset.
At what point do you start thinking, well, maybe I could do this?
I don't know that I defined the exact day. I know I was sitting inside a CAD class, or some sort of a construction class on my laptop. It was a screw off class. So I was sitting there and I founded the LLC, just kind of like seeing where I could get on the state website, and within 30 minutes I had an LLC founded, kind of a thing, and just kind of went for it. So, officially that's where it happened. I think it was October, November of 2018, if I recall. But as far as, I was working for the other guy. I was working nights and skipping school here and there, getting sick here and there. To go work.
Yeah, of course.
And I can't define an exact day, but I always kind of knew within a couple weeks. I knew like, hey, I'll get into this. So I didn't know at the time if that meant a partnership with the guy I was with, or a little bit of investment, or on my own, and that kind of thing. So super good guy. He taught me a lot in the short time I was with him. But within 8 months, I had sold a really nice truck that I'd built from scratch and refurbished. So I sold that for good money, and that was like selling a piece of my soul. Mm-hmm. And then I went out and bought a mini excavator to start with. It's an E50.
What kind of truck was it?
It was a first-gen Cummins.
Oh.
Yeah, 91 with a 12-valve and a 5-speed. And I'd built air suspension, and it was like the cleanest first-gen on earth. So
really?
Yeah.
That gets you that's a pretty cool car for being in high school.
Yeah. No, it was.
That's no joke.
Yeah. Rolling into the new high school, too.
So, yeah. Who's this new kid? So you get rid of the truck, you exchange it for a mini excavator.
Yep.
How do you get your first job?
I got to remember what my first job was. I don't know exactly. I know how I got all of my first jobs was I'd come home every night from school or wherever I was working, and I'd come home to an Excel spreadsheet, and then I would just yellow pages and Google every home builder, general contractor, real estate investor, like anybody involved in the industry I could find. I'd put them in this Excel spreadsheet, and I'd have a couple columns for, where their office was, and then I'd figure out who the owner was, what their personal phone number was, and, kind of stalk down the paper trail there.
Yeah. It's when people ask me how to get in touch with people, I don't really know what to offer them.
Google
because that's it. It's all on the internet. It's all there. If you and sometimes you have to work really hard to find someone's contact information, but everybody is there at the end of the day.
I end up on my case, looking in the state's database of any crimes they've committed, looking for information.
It's there somewhere, man. Yeah, sure. I would find some, on page 15 of Google, some obscure presentation this person gave 8 years ago. And at the bottom, it had their email. Score. Yes. Or I'd be sitting there Googling other people at the company that are more accessible. What's the email format? Sure. Okay, here's 5 possibilities. Try all 5. Get 4 bounce backs. 1 goes through. All right,
we're in the door.
Yeah. It's you just have to have the desire to go find somebody. But everybody's
starving
there
for it. Yeah. And it wasn't, it wasn't an overnight. All of a sudden I had these clients by any means, but I'd call 5 of them a day, 7 of them a day.
What would you say?
Oh, I just introduce myself. My name's Will. I just would love an opportunity to come by your office, introduce myself, and look at any work you've got upcoming. I mean, it was nothing that I'd scripted out. It was nothing that I'd practiced in the mirror. I mean, it was just be real and be natural with them.
But was it a little bit of bullshit?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I was a 17-year-old in high school. Like I was making a call from an English class. I quickly built a reputation, and some teachers loved it. Some teachers hated it. But if my phone rang during English class, I don't care what we're talking about. I'm getting up and go to the hallway, and I'm going to take this call because who knows who it is.
Damn. But you would never mention that you're in high school.
Oh, no. People. Absolutely not.
Yeah. Yeah, because that I used when I was in high school and especially college as a way to get in the door with a lot of important people.
Sure.
I wasn't threatening.
Yeah.
I'm just a kid. I'm just trying to learn. And then that pulls people's guard all the way down, and you can have a really phenomenal conversation with somebody. But you were in the opposite camp.
Oh,
You're like, I need them to think I'm capable. So they can't think I'm a kid.
Yep. Show me some $1 million jobs and let's avoid the conversation of how old I am.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't lie to people.
Exactly.
I would just avoid the conversation altogether.
Correct. Yeah. It's not it's not useful information.
Yep.
Because that doesn't necessarily impact your ability to do a job.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, sure, yes, you're inexperienced, but
sure, yeah.
There's a lot of inexperienced contractors out there, let me tell you, that have been doing it for a long time. And I don't know how they still are this bad, but they are.
Yeah.
Huh. So you start getting jobs and you have a mini excavator.
Yeah. So it's a lot of sewer and water hookups. I quickly got...
Like residential.
Yeah, residential. I quickly got licensed to design and install septic systems. And I would go after the niche. So like the sand line systems when you're in bad soils and you don't have a good drainage outlet, because the old timers and the 580 backhoes just wanted to do pipe and gravel, So I would go do these $20,000, $30,000 septic systems that everyone else is scared of. They've got a little bit of design. They got a little bit of math. Perfect. So I started by doing a lot of those, started digging some basements, doing some backfills. I mean, just anything I could get my hands on.
This was nights and weekends?
Oh yeah. And getting sick.
Yeah. So you quit the job that you had before.
Yes. Yep.
When, what was that conversation? Hey, I'm going to go do this on my own.
Oh, he knew it was coming. And he was fully supportive and took it really well. So it was a mixture. Like I would work for him and be like, hey, I won't be here the next 2 days or these 3 days next week because I've got a job I'm doing there. So it wasn't like I quit and then I went and did it. It was a little bit of a mixture, and he was very respectful of that because he knew what was going to happen there. So he would say, oh, I just want to be able to say that I made you, when you're whatever you're going to become. So anyway,
it has been funny for me to reconnect with people that gave me a shot early on.
Definitely.
Because not that I'm necessarily a long ways down the road, but I'm far enough where they're like, oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah. I'm like, I know. Thanks for the shot.
Definitely.
Like you helped this.
Yep.
Huh. So you're doing, $20,000, $30,000. That's,
it was a jump.
I was making $7.65 working at the fish store.
Sure.
When I was in high school.
Sure.
So I was not pulling in nearly the revenue you were.
Yep.
The income you were.
And I took a lot of jobs too cheap. Starting out, I didn't know how to price myself. And that's always been my weakness. Even when I grew into hard bidding work, it's like, I don't know how fast I can put 8-inch STR 35 at 8 feet deep. So there's been a lot of times where I was the rat of the industry, not because I wanted to undercut everybody, just because I didn't know. Yeah. So I took a lot of work as a charitable foundation, and I learned a lot quickly, but.
Yeah, BuildWitt, it's not a legitimate nonprofit, but it's a nonprofit. Yeah.
Yep.
We're still trying to figure out the profit part.
Definitely.
But that's the problem, is there's only one way to figure that out, because you go ask other contractors, how do I bid work? They're not going to tell you.
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy, because no, I'm not going to go help my competitor, even though you aren't really competitors.
Sure. Yeah.
So then you have to go learn by trial and error.
And that is one similarity with the ag industry. Like all these old guys, they hold those cards close because they think everybody's out to screw them. I'm not going to tell you anything about my operation.
It's wild.
Even though we do all the exact same things, we lay pipe the exact same way, but I'm not going to tell you how I do it.
But ag is funny because you're feeding the same market.
Yeah.
It's the same commodity market.
Yeah.
But that's where construction is too. You're not really competing with one another. Yes, you are.
Sure.
But competition is good. It keeps everybody honest.
Oh, yeah.
But if we're just focused on competing with each other, all these other industries are going to race by us, which has already happened.
Oh, by far.
It's going to. It's already happened.
Yeah.
And now, but we're still so focused on each other, we haven't even noticed that all these other industries have torn past us.
Yep.
And then we're sitting here scratching our heads like, why can't we hire people?
Yep.
Why doesn't this next generation just want to work?
And how am I going to pay my fuel bill next week?
Yes.
And it all runs together.
Yes.
In a game that makes this much money, and we need to invest in the people and make all these big picture things. How do we do that when we're struggling to pay the fuel bill and make payroll every week?
Mm-hmm. Oh, were you passing your classes?
Oh, yeah. I was very blessed. I always did pretty well in school. So that was sophomore year when I got rolling. Yeah, big summer, hit it hard that summer. Coming into junior year, I had most of my credits out of the way. So how did I do that? Junior year, I did a work program for myself. So I would go till about 9:30 in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning. And you're supposed to then leave and go work for some, long-standing company in the area. So it took a little bit of sweet talking to get to get the paperwork so that I went and worked for myself.
Oh, because you have to sign your own paperwork.
Oh, yeah. And
yeah.
typically, an employer fills out a bunch of paperwork on a weekly basis for that class, and you turn in all this stuff. So I sat down with the teacher and I was like, I can give you time cards, but you won't believe them, or when I left school and when I got to school. So I said, I'll just include you on the invoicing I send out every week just to show that, hey, I'm actually out doing work. And I think the first week was, it was 20, 30 grand, and her eyes went wide, and I never turned in a piece of paper again,
That's pretty clever. Yeah. Cause I'm going to work for myself. Yeah. Right. Get the hell out of
Exactly.
Here. You have to
it
make
was
an
a great
alias,
school.
like Bill.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It was a fantastic school, and they knew I was legitimate. I showed up in the morning with a lowboy truck and a D6 that had just been buried, and I spent the last 3 hours trying to get it out. So, it was legitimate. Oh, yeah. I pulled a semi and lowboy into the school parking lot a lot.
That's pretty cool. That's actually a
pretty
flex.
For sure.
Yeah. That's way cooler than driving like a lifted Jeep Wrangler.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, anyway, so they knew it was legitimate, and they were very, very good to me. So can't speak highly enough about them.
When do you hire somebody?
Yeah, so it was a guy who's doing landscaping on the same job as me, had came up talking to me. And so I hired him, and I still had to go to school every day, but he was a self-sufficient guy. I could put him on a dozer and set him up for the next day, and he'd be good for the first couple hours until I got out at 11 o'clock or lunch or whatever it was. So I hired a guy within a couple months of starting the company. I hired the first employee.
But did you think twice about it, or were you just like, well, I got
help. Work, I need help. Yep, that's all it was.
Yeah, that's the good way to do it.
I think a lot of people get scared for no reason there.
They do. I think it's a responsibility that you can't take lightly.
Sure.
But you're going to screw it up at the same time.
Oh, for sure.
And so just accepting that and doing your best and just taking the screw ups, learning from them, and just keep moving on down the road. That's by far the best way to do it.
Sure. And you can certainly feel more comfortable in an economy, like it has been in the last 5 years, where even if I do make a misstep, or even if he doesn't work out working here, he can go get a job anywhere.
Sure.
So you could comfort yourself a little bit knowing that, hey, I have good intentions here. I'm not trying to pull this guy away from a long-standing career to make a hot shot at something.
Did the people that joined you early on, did they know you were in high school still?
Oh, yeah, he did. But he did a good job of keeping that alias up with me. He wouldn't talk about it.
Yeah.
So I think the first 20 employees, one of the first things they were told was, we do not talk about Will's age, and it's still that way. We encourage guys not to talk about my age.
Why do you think why do you think that's a problem?
Oh, I think it's just human nature. I don't think they don't mean to discriminate. They don't mean to, think poorly just because of an age, but it's human nature. You got to sign $1 million contract with a 20-year-old. Think about how terrifying that is from their shoes. So I've sympathized with them. I don't hold anything against the guys who do think less of me because how old I am.
I think it's some of that, but I also think it's a little bit of ego.
Sure.
Because it makes them look at what they've done in their life, and they're like, damn, this 20-year-old's kicking my ass, and I'm 48.
Sure.
This kind of makes me feel like shit.
Yep.
I think
I try not to think like that, but yes, probably.
Yeah. Well, but it's reality.
Yeah.
And once you start to understand how ego plays a role in people's decision-making and emotions, then you can start to not manipulate, but just work with it rather than against it.
Know your way around it.
Yeah. It's so interesting. Another interesting observation I've made about people is they, especially in construction, they're very proud of their experience.
Sure.
And they think a year experience is a year experience.
Yep.
But just because your 1 year was this doesn't mean my 1 year is also that.
Definitely.
It's a 1 year. 1 year of experience is not equivalent whatsoever.
Yep. I've seen guys learn more with the right leader in 8 months than other guys have in 8 years under the wrong leader.
That's it. Yeah. So, and you growing up on a farm, for example, you're getting a lot of that experience.
Oh, yeah. You're everything.
Sure, you're 20, but you've been going at it for a decade plus.
Yeah, since I could reach the clutch pedal.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And just because they got a late start or they didn't have that experience, it doesn't mean it just, it gets, it's funny how people take their experience and equal it to other people's when it's not at all equal.
Definitely.
Because I've thought a lot about this. Me as 27, I've done my best to consolidate as much experience into this little window as I can.
Sure.
It's like the past 4 years, I've just been going fucking
Crammed.
nuts. Yeah, just cram it in there.
Yep.
And with all this travel and meeting all these people and all these conversations and just seeing so much of the industry that you take decades of experience somewhere else and you just put it all into this nice little neat package.
Yep.
And here you go.
Yep.
Now, I'm not to say that it's equivalent to working in a, one company for 20 years.
Yeah.
But my experience is a lot more broad and a lot more encompassing than most other people's in this industry.
Oh, yeah.
Even at my age.
Yep.
The funny thing about the age thing, Jimmy Starbuck.
Yep.
Have you seen him around?
I've heard of him. Haven't met him.
He's a character. He started a company when he was really young in his 20s. And people wouldn't deal with him sometimes directly.
Sure.
So he would just say it was his dad's company.
And
he
played the daddy's card on himself,
which is genius. Yeah, he called it Starbuck and Son.
Sure.
And he was the son.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So he literally called his company Starbuck and Son so that these people would take him seriously, even though his dad had nothing to do with the company.
I've never thought of that.
Yeah. So keep that one in your back pocket because that's like next level genius.
Oh yeah. So no, I follow him on Instagram. He's got a lot of cool looking iron, and it seems like COVID was hard in Australia. I feel very blessed that in Indiana, COVID didn't touch me.
No, there were some. I mean, going up into Chicago, yeah, definitely.
Sure.
On the edges of the country, yeah, definitely. But otherwise,
we didn't miss a day of work.
No, but the construction industry didn't miss a day of work, really.
Yeah.
Unless you were in Washington with Governor Inslee saying,
sure,
construction's not essential.
Sure.
What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
So at the time you graduate high school.
So I graduated high school a year early.
You graduated early.
Yeah. So I work program for myself junior year, and then I was done.
Really?
Yep.
So you finished at 17?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Were you just trying to get it over with, hurry it up so you could go to work?
I love school. I really did. I wasn't a kid that, slept through the day. I mean, I was pretty good at school, and I really enjoyed the people at school, and I enjoyed learning. I always have. So I fully thought, even at that point, I was going to college. Like my whole life plan was, I'm going to college, of course. I even had some scholarships lined up, so it wasn't a matter of rushing it. It wasn't rushing it because I wanted out of school. It was rushing it because I wanted the efficiency of me being on site all day, and the potential there. So going into what would have been my senior year would have been 2020, but I was working for myself full time. I was still balancing and questioning, do I go to college or do I stay for what I'm building here?
And 2020 answered that question for you.
Oh, it sure did.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that was a near miss for sure.
Well, I don't think so. It was, my friends were still all went to college and they still had a blast, and I would have had fun in college. True. And I saw all the pictures and all the videos. True. And here I am working 40-hour days, just talking to vendors, clients, and employees. That's all it was. So there was never regret. But it's hard as a young guy that doesn't go to college to see everybody else having a good time.
That would be after college though too, because I've had those similar thoughts for 4 years now.
Sure.
You're out there building a company, living this one completely different life.
Yep.
And then you go social media and everybody you grew up with, everybody they're all great people. They're all fucking off, just being in their 20s, just living it up. And you're sitting there in some, it's a weird time of the day, like ridiculous early in the morning or late at night or
I've
Sunday
been living
afternoon.
on Mountain Dew and ho-hos for the last 4 weeks, and you go by. And so we did a job in Bloomington. So I drive through IU and I just look around and it's easy to get cynical about it or get mean. So you just look around at all these guys at your age, able-bodied young men. It's like, shouldn't you have a job? Like you guys are doing nothing.
They don't do anything.
What do you contribute to society?
Yeah, but there's, it's a good time.
Yeah.
But no matter if you go to college or not, you're gonna have that.
Yeah.
At least I've had it.
Yeah.
Sure. I don't think COVID slowed down kids being kids.
Yeah.
I think it only started up a little bit more.
Sure.
Because they tried to suppress kids being kids, and that just doesn't work.
Yeah.
But what would have pissed me off if I was in college in 2020, 2021 is that they were still charging people the same amount of money for a bullshit product.
Yep.
Like garbage product for the exact same amount of money.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I could. I try to like run that situation in my head. I'm like, I don't know if I would have stayed, because I knowing you're getting screwed for 2 years that badly.
Sure.
That sucks.
Yeah, but think about the peer pressure side. They weren't going to go anywhere.
No one went anywhere.
Yeah.
And the colleges knew that. They're like, we can get away with this for sure.
They'll lay down and take it.
They overplayed their hand because enrollment has peaked.
Yeah.
And is headed down
for
the first time.
That's good.
Yeah.
So.
Which I think is good.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm all for college. I'm all for college.
And I am too. College is a great thing, but there's a lot of people that are in college that shouldn't be.
And that's what I agree with. They've overplayed their hand.
Definitely.
So you are hiring people, you graduate early.
Yeah, so senior year I made $1 million, and that was the tipping point. Was I'm not going to school. This is too good of an opportunity. I've been blessed. This is, at that point I started adopting the big vision, So at that point I knew I wasn't going to go, and just put my head down and went.
What's the big vision?
Yeah. I don't have it wrote out. I probably should, but the big vision is we're going to make a huge impact. If you look around the market, my thing is every one of my competitors in the indie market, 60, 70, 80-year-old guy, good guys, no one there to seriously succeed the business. So blue collar as a whole in Indianapolis, I think the next 5 to 10 years is going to be the greatest transfer of wealth and power and scope. So I started to get to a size where I saw that, and it really opened my eyes, and hey, the potential of this could be huge, and it is going to be huge. So then I was fully committed. We're going to build a monster.
Be careful when you build a monster.
Then you got to feed it.
You got to feed a monster, as I've learned.
Yeah.
But that's the only way you change things. You need to do it through scale.
Yep.
And people only believe what they can see. And that's what I've always said is I have no choice but to build a big company, because that's what people are going to believe.
Yep.
And that's going to give us the influence to actually go change some things in the industry.
Yeah.
I can't just do it myself. There's no way.
Sure.
What does that opportunity look like specifically though?
I had started getting a lot of bid requests. So I started off with residential. I was doing a residential for a guy in Zionsville, super cool guy, 60, 70 years old. He's in the retirement phases of his life. He was an estimator at Schuler Sexton for 20, 30, 40 years, which is a large contractor in the Indianapolis area. So he started teaching me the basics of estimating, just very high level. This is how you do it. You take your costs, you do an overhead markup and a profit markup. And I fell in love with it. I've always been a numbers guy. So I went home to an Excel spreadsheet and just started writing cells and writing formulas and went crazy with it. So at that point, I started getting into small commercial, doing gas stations and take 5 oil changes and all these small, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 projects, and figured out how to win those bids, and then won way too many of those bids. So now I got to go do all that work.
Yeah.
So 2020 was a whirlwind of commercial work, and we way overextended ourselves because at that point it was a couple employees. A lot of high school guys, and we're out here running, and I'm not exaggerating when I say 40-hour days. We would do a job in Muncie, load up, drive to Bloomington, and do a whole job in Bloomington before we'd go to bed. There was employees that would leave their car somewhere, like at a gas station on the south side of Indianapolis. 3 days later, when we went back to Indianapolis, the car had been stolen 3 days ago. So I got to buy this employee a new car because I feel bad. $800 ship box, but there was. It was just all sorts of crazy stories about, and we were running way too hard. It wasn't sustainable. Every single person that was with me at that time is long gone because I burned them out quick and fast, and we were running hard.
Yeah.
So I would, I had some really good vendors at the time. One of them was a guy at Utility Pipe Sales, and he knew I didn't have time to come get parts, so he'd leave them out at night. And I was just, I'd sneak in the lot at the middle of the night, pick up the parts I needed. And there was one morning I'd been awake for a couple of days, and I went to pick up, an SDR fitting or something, and there was a stack of dual wall HDP pipe. I was like, man, it looks so good just to lay down on that for a second. And I laid down and I fell asleep right there in the middle of the lot, and they found me in the morning, and just all sorts of crazy stories. So
nice.
Yeah, I lived on Mountain Dew and Twinkies. It was a fun time. Looking back on it, it was a fun time.
At what point do you realize, this is probably not the best way to go about things?
At the point where all my employees quit on a regular basis, and good guys and friends of mine too. These were guys that were friends before they were employees, and now we're no longer friends because of how hard we're running. The best employees I had were the ones who were under 16. This sounds terrible. The ones who were under 16 because they didn't have a driver's license, they couldn't go home. So from the time I picked them up, they were with me. And I had mothers calling me at 2 or 3 a.m., where's my son at? I'm like, well, he's running a haul truck. Like, we're busy, okay?
He's working.
Yeah, but I'd keep him out for 20, 30, 40, 50-hour stretches at a time,
Shit.
I've met more police officers in my market than anybody else just because how many calls they've got at 2 a.m. There's some idiot out here with a backup beeper, and they're all super nice guys. And for the most part, I got kicked off a couple, but
yeah,
we'd do it again tomorrow night.
Yeah.
So quickly learned to cut the wires for the backup beepers, but
sure. Yeah.
Anyway,
white noise backup
exactly.
Those are your friend. Those
were the early days. And there was a couple of guys that are around now that had just seen the end of that tale or the end of that era, and they talk about the olden days, 2 years ago.
Was there a moment in time that's like, okay, we need to head in a different direction, or was it somewhat of a gradual?
It was a gradual, for
change?
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, 2020, we had a full stack of commercial to finish out the year, and I had a really good client call me and say, hey, these guys dropped off this subdivision job. 40, 50 lots. I think it was 30,000 cubic yards and maybe a combined total of 15 or 20,000 foot of pipe. He called me on, end of October. Hey, can you do this? Absolutely not. There was no way we're going to pull that off. But you know what I said on that phone call? Yep.
Yeah.
Sign me up. So we would work commercial all day. We started that job on November 10th. And paving in the north doesn't run year round. No. We had to get it in black. So you don't have a fixed deadline either. They could close on Thanksgiving. They could run all the way to, New Year's, whatever it is. So we started that job on November 10th. We would run commercial all day long, way behind schedule, pissing people off. Then we'd come work residential all night, subdivision development all night. So we were out there with a skid steer and a mini excavator laying 36-inch RCP. I've made some equipment go way past its limits, and I've ran a lot of 1 or 2 man pipe crews putting in production pipe.
Yeah. You put yourself in a position where it's like
you have to make it happen.
Yeah, there's no other option.
Yeah. I didn't even think about it was nothing to me. It was just what I had to do.
That's the fun part about doing this when you're young is that you're so naive, you just don't know better.
Yeah.
And you put yourself into positions that someone more experienced and wiser
would have been way too scared of.
Yeah, yep. Never ever, because that's so stupid. But you just don't know any better.
Yeah,
like, sure.
You would have thought I was on drugs. Like I was wired out, just running. I had a little clapped out BMW convertible that I drove around as a work car because I'd given my truck up to be a work truck. So top down, driving around and enjoying that. But I'd finished on a job. I'd been awake for a couple of days again, and I'd left that job. And I got to the 4-way stop sign a mile down the road from this job. And I pull out my phone to text all my employees what the plan is for tomorrow. It's 2 or 3 or 4 a.m. I don't know. Next thing I know, I wake up and somebody's got their hand around my throat. And when you wake up, you're still dreary. Like I had no clue who I was, where I was, what was going on. And there was lights all around me. It was a police officer checking my pulse, thinking that I had overdosed or died sitting at the stop sign.
What?
Vehicle's still in gear and my foot's on the brake, and I just fallen asleep right there sitting at the stop sign. But that was kind of a moment where yeah, maybe I need to sleep a little more.
Probably need to, stop this.
Super nice guys.
Yeah. So it's interesting. The best analogy I've heard is you go from pirate to Navy.
Yeah.
And
I heard, was it Keaton Turner and you that said that a while ago?
We probably had the same conversation.
Yeah. I heard that and I was like, man, that is so true.
Yeah. Because Turner Mining Group had the same thing. It was for sure a piracy back in the day.
Yeah.
They were just doing whatever they could do to stir up the mining industry. And then that just, it only gets you so far, but to get the bigger contracts, you need to play bigger ball and you need to be professional and buttoned up and safe and efficient.
Yeah. No, and that time we were tinting all the windows at 5% and putting subwoofers in the equipment. We were having a good time. So.
Yeah. And people still do that.
Oh, and I loved it.
But the reality is, okay, great. Do we stay here and just keep fucking off? Or if we do want to go turn this thing into a monster,
do we get legitimate?
We got to dial this in.
Yeah.
So you lose a lot of people. You're just piracy, full bore.
Yep.
What are the changes you started to make to get a little bit more buttoned up?
Well, in those days, I was like, well, the high schoolers working 40 hours a day is, it's got some issues. So I got to hire experienced guys. And I didn't know what I was doing. So I did need experienced guys. And I just went full cutthroat. I would stop on everybody's job site. Like if I drove by your dirt job, I was going to stop and try to steal every employee you had. And I made a lot of enemies there too.
Yep.
But that's what I was out to do, was steal employees, because I needed that experience factor. And I got some. I got a couple great ones through that process. The ways I got them might not have been right, but they're good people. And that was a very small group. The rest of them were the guys you didn't want anyway. The job hoppers of this industry. All the bad things about construction are the kind of people I got.
Mm-hmm.
So I quickly figured out, just because they've got experience doesn't make them the perfect employee.
Yes.
So I cut myself there pretty good and quickly found that out. So I was like, okay, we're going to go back to the hiring high schoolers, because they're good guys, and we're just going to take it a little slower, treat them a little better, So we haven't always been great at the culture. We haven't always been great at treating people, and I'll be the first to admit that. I've made mistakes there, but I found through the first 2 years of this business how I had to do it right, and learned.
Yeah, that's the magic of creating your workforce. Is you don't have to go steal them from somebody else.
Yep.
So you're not pissing people off.
Yep.
You're making the industry better.
Definitely.
By adding to the workforce. And you don't have to untrain them.
Yeah.
And untrain all of their bad habits. Learned from other people.
Definitely.
Which is very advantageous. That's not to say that you can't get away with just all inexperienced people.
Right.
There's a lot of experience you need to go make sure a building pad is actually at compaction.
Yep.
If you turn a bunch of 16-year-olds loose on a big commercial building pad, not going to end up well.
Yeah. And that's what it was. I mean, it was, we'd roll up on a job site and the oldest guy's like 22 years old, So we figured out, hey, we need a mix of the salt and pepper boys and some gray hairs with all these young studs.
Yeah. So what does your workforce look like now?
Yeah, I think it is still very, very young, but we've got that mixture. So I think it's 80% of the guys in the company are younger than 25, 28, early 20s.
Really?
Yeah. The other 20%, we go from one end of the spectrum to the other, it feels like. So we got a bunch of 25-year-olds, and then we've got a bunch of 50 and 60-year-olds that have been doing this their whole life. And they're good guys and good leaders, So they've got a lot of, I won't call them pet projects, but they've got a lot of pet projects.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I thought young people don't work.
Yeah, that's what I heard
too. How do you find?
We don't. We just scroll people? TikTok all day and pretend like we're working.
Yeah, that's my strategy. Yeah, everybody's. I'll always get some jackass online that'll say, "Wow, so you just go to all these projects and just watch other people work? You don't do any of the work yourself?" Like, yeah, who doesn't want to do that? I get to enjoy it without the liability, without the diesel expense, with I don't have to worry about any of that.
Yeah. No, that couldn't be further from the truth. There's still so many young people that want to work. They just have to be led, and they have to be shown what it can be. And in construction, you preach this every day. Construction has done a terrible job, an awful job. I look around at other industries. Linemen, they've done a good job in the past couple of years. There's a lot of guys coming out of high school going into that trade. Welding's done pretty well in the past couple of years.
Yep.
So there's other trades in the blue collar world that have figured it out. Our industry is not one of them. It's coming around, we'll say, at best.
Yeah.
But there's so many young guys that are willing to work harder than you've seen guys work before. It's just they have to be under the right leaders. They have to be treated correctly.
What does treated correctly mean?
Work-life balance. Is something we try to actually enact. We went from one end of the spectrum to the other. So we don't even work. We hardly work Saturdays anymore. We've got all these young guys. They've got new girlfriends. They've got young wives. They got young kids. They need to spend their Saturdays, or at least most of their Saturdays, raising that family, being there for their girlfriends and doing all the cute petty shit, you know? So
taking the pictures.
Yeah. So we structure the company that, hey, we're a 5-day-a-week company, and we'll have GCs and you know, guys are like, oh, why aren't you here running on Saturday? And it's like, because that's not the company we are, you know? So granted, the dirt is like farming. When the weather's right in Indiana, you've got to run, but you try to be responsible. Like, we've got unlimited vacation time, and we tell guys, you need to take a couple trips a year. Like, you got to get away before you burn out. And, you know, those kind of policies and programs. The other thing is just benefits. Everybody does that, but you got a 401k with 5% match for an 18-year-old, and you sit them down and explain that and get them to commit to that. Just forget he's doing it. You know, it's a huge thing. And guys take account of that. So
how, you know, like a reason for the vacation time thing not being a thing is, well, don't people take advantage of that?
Yeah.
How do you get people not to take advantage of that? We have
sure
flexible time off too.
Sure.
So I'm just being.
I don't know the perfect way. I know I don't have people that take advantage of it. And I think most of it comes back to our culture. Like, guys see that their leaders take trips, you know, and they're gone a week at a time. And when they're gone, we're not going to blow up their phone. We're going to figure it out or go to the next guy up the chain or whatever it is. So we set a good example of how to do that and how to balance that. And we haven't had problems with people, you know, oh, well, if that's the case, I'll take 3 weeks off. We have never had that issue. I think good people know that, hey, this is something that's, you know, to be respected, to be done within balance. So,
and I think good people inherently want to work.
Oh, for sure. It's my greatest blessing in life is I have a purpose and I love what I do, you know, and I work.
Yeah. That's why I work so hard, is because I've been given this opportunity.
Yep.
And so it would be just the biggest failure possible if I squandered that.
Yep.
That is like my big driving force. Is I have been provided this opportunity. I've been put on this path very early on.
Definitely.
So I better go make something of it, because a lot of people don't have this opportunity.
I'm in the exact same boat. Yeah. I've been blessed beyond measure, and I could never even put it into words, but because of that, I'm going to work 20-hour days, and I'm going to go, you know, and make as much impact on the people as I can around me.
Yeah.
You know?
How do you provide leadership when you're still trying to figure out who the hell you are?
That's a good question. You're not going to do it perfect, and you have to be just real with people in my book. So the guys around me, I mean, they see me fail every day. Every day I make mistakes, but we're going to take extreme ownership. We're going to talk about them. We're going to, you know, explore what went wrong or what missteps I took. And do that in front of everybody, the whole company. Brand new labor, they're going to hear how Will screwed it up today. But we're all going to learn from it, so that, you know, not only I make that mistake again, but hopefully it keeps some of you guys from making that mistake again. So they see good leadership critiquing itself, critiquing the others around it in a positive way, and just trying to be real with their problems. So
yeah,
it is where I would kind of go with that. You know, and just being there for people. As a business owner, you wouldn't believe how many phone calls you get at 10 p.m. at night, because these guys all have personal lives, and they come from some hard stuff, and they have terrible things happen around them, you know? So just the phone calls you get, and what's your reaction when somebody calls you and tells you, hey, you know, my mom just got murdered. What are you going to say on that phone call? What are you going to do as the employer to that guy to handle that and, you know, help him through any way you can? So I've developed a lot, and I've learned a lot through that, you know, and it comes back to blessing. Like, I've been so blessed to be put in this position. I better be responsible for the guys around me, and, you know, building them as people.
You learn quick.
Oh yeah.
When you're put into that kind of position.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I've used it more as an asset than a liability.
Sure.
And it's a lot easier when you just say, yeah, like, great. You don't know what you're doing? Welcome to the fucking club. I don't either, dude. Like,
yeah.
Oh, this is the first time you've done this job?
Yep.
Me too.
Yeah.
I've never owned a company before.
Yeah. I hired a kid a couple months ago, and I'm teaching him how to be an estimator. So first day he goes out in the field, he takes his brand new shiny hard hat, you know, and he writes office idiot on the front. And I didn't tell him to do that, but he did that. And everybody loves them for it. It's like, that was a smart move, kid.
Yeah.
Like, that was great.
Yes.
Call yourself an idiot before they can call you one.
That is the best possible attitude you could have going onto a job site for the first time. Yeah. Make fun of yourself before the others do it. Yep. And then, okay, so this guy's pretty cool.
Sure.
And then they're going to take you under their wing.
And they'll teach you not to be an idiot.
And they'll teach you everything they know. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you see that you try the human nature side of you wants to blend in.
Sure.
So to blend in, you're going to act like you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So that you're not rejected, but everybody, but these guys smell bullshit from a mile away. Yeah. So they can tell, nope, this kid doesn't have a clue what he's doing.
Yeah.
And then they just write you off.
Sure. Yeah.
It's you have to go in the opposite direction. Just say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm willing to work.
Yep.
I
want to learn.
You have to, then you have to work.
Yep.
Then you have to, when someone tells you something, then you have to do it. And then you build that trust.
And the sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit.
Yeah.
What do you think the construction industry needs to do better to attract the next generation? Because what they're doing right now is clearly not working as well as it needs
I think
to.
We have to rewrite the aura around construction as a whole. When a lady is driving her kids around town and she sees the construction workers, she sets an example. Hey, kids, do well in school so you don't end up like that guy who's out there shoveling 10 hours a day in 100-degree heat. And just that subconscious mindset America has about construction has to change. Construction is guys who couldn't make it to college, druggies, convicts, alcoholics, trailer trash, whatever label we want to put on them this week. So I think we just have to change by showing them that's not who we are and that's not what we believe in. Be very strict on the kind of guys that represent us out in the field. And I made a ton of mistakes at that. Again, disclaimer. But we try to be super strict in the hiring process. And we fire guys quickly for those kind of things because we're trying to build our culture around these are clean cut, good guys here to do good, honest work. Because that's all it is, And there's a pride aspect that comes with blue collar and, just like agriculture, So I think we have to figure out how to clean our people up, present ourselves better, and show the good parts of our industry because everybody sees the construction workers on the side of the road that are cracked out. Everybody sees the jokes on the internet about it, this and that. But nobody's shown up until here as of recently. Nobody's shown all the great parts of construction because there are fantastic parts. It's just we don't advertise that.
And the pride is something that is missing from a lot of society.
Oh yeah.
And that's, I think, what's so attractive to the industry to me is everybody's so proud of what they do. But you go to these other industries, there's just no pride. Everybody's just doing their job.
Yep.
Some of these people are making a shitload of money.
Sure.
But they're still not, you can still tell part of them is missing because they're just not proud of what they do.
And they don't love what they do. I mean, they're just here. And it's a free agent economy. That's what the new generation has moved to. And I believe that. But there's still room for loyalty there. And there's still room for pride in what you do and a love for what you do. Even if you are, we've created the free agent economy by taking advantage of people and not treating people well. I'm paying this guy $18 an hour, hoping he doesn't hear that he's actually worth $25 an hour, $30 an hour. So
exactly.
We've done it to ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean, every problem we all like to gripe about with the young generation is our own fault.
Well, that's what I feel like I've realized this before, but it was so clear to me the other day. I just realized the generation complaining about the older generation complaining about the future generation is the one that raised the future generation. I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah. I've had the wool pulled right over my eyes. Like they're making it seem like this is my fault, but it's your guys' fault. Like this is your fault.
Yeah.
And not that I'm going to go blame the other generation because that doesn't do me any good, but it's like, hold on a second here.
You're the ones who raised us as iPad kids watching SpongeBob.
Yeah, exactly. Here, kid, shut up. Here's an iPad.
Yeah. We don't want to deal with you the rest of the afternoon.
Go figure.
Yeah.
Go figure. Yeah. And then here we are, businesses are suffering for it as a result, and yet it's not my problem.
McDonald's can't hire people. I mean, it's just crazy.
It's crazy, but like you said, there could not be a bigger opportunity in America. It just the blue collar space, I think, is the single biggest opportunity over the next few decades.
Oh yeah.
I just don't see another field that has what the blue collar world has.
Yep.
And what it's going to have well into the future. Because we can, and I've talked about this. I go into my Fortune magazine now, and it's all about NFTs and Bitcoins, like
what
crypto.
The latest TikTok trend is about it.
It's all about the latest in technology.
Sure.
But none of that means shit without food, water, shelter.
Right.
That doesn't ever go away.
Yeah.
Ever go away until we, I don't know, put our brains into a robot.
Sure. Elon takes us to Mars.
Yeah. But until then, until we can crawl into computers, we're still human beings.
Yeah.
We're always going to be constrained by that, which is crazy.
Oh, it's wild to think about. And a majority, I don't know what your perspective is. A majority of the industry around me, it's all controlled, ran, and powered by boomers. So they point fingers at me, I point fingers at them. But like the baby boomers are on the way out the door. They're going bye-bye. So
yes. And I've learned to be like, hey, you've got us here, so thanks.
Yeah.
Like you guys have done a great job.
Yeah.
But then the other side, it's like, if you guys wouldn't mind, like, please
get lost.
Yeah, like, hey, retirement is a great time.
Nothing wrong with it.
There's these golf courses, they look awesome. Like, if you wouldn't mind, like, hand it off here.
Yeah.
Because we don't have time to waste.
Yeah.
This needs to change.
Yeah.
This needs to change. We cannot continue the status quo.
Yeah.
Because by the day, we're only screwing ourselves further and further and further. And then they do leave at some point.
Sure.
Because you and me have more sand in our hourglass than they do.
Sure.
Fact. Unless I die young, for whatever reason. But
as a whole. Yeah.
As a whole, I just have to wait. But then we're left with the pile of shit that we have to deal with.
They spent their whole life trying to defend their title, not teaching anybody, not bringing somebody up to replace them because they don't want to get replaced. And all of a sudden when they, stroke out or they do leave the company, there's no one there that understands their role or knows how to do it well.
Mm-hmm.
And
I would be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
If I were in that position, I'd be doing the same thing because all these guys have it so good.
Sure.
They're making a killing right now.
Yeah. Just
Life
keep
is
milking
grand.
that cow.
Yeah. They've been grinding for 30 years to get there in the first place.
Yep.
Of course, I'm not going to go upset the apple cart.
Yep.
But that's the thing is you need to upset the apple cart a little bit while things are good.
Yep. Definitely.
Because that's the innovation. That's what needs to happen. You're evolving because the world's evolving.
Yeah. And we're all scared of, we could go into a couple episodes talking about this. We're all scared of what's coming for us. If we're about to go into a recession and things are about to, go back to 2008 or whatever. But I got the mentality of that would be a good thing for this industry because those guys aren't motivated to stay into it.
Yes.
There's going to be a mass exodus next time we have a 2008, and maybe it's not a 2008. Maybe it's something in between here and there. But there's going to be a lot of people exit this industry, and this problem is just going to get worse.
That's it. Well, I made a post about this the other day. Does a economic decline, does a recession, does that make the workforce problem better? Because, reduce demand.
Sure.
Great. Now we can actually accommodate the demand with the current workforce, but
it's going to push back
Companies
up.
are going to lay people. Well, it's going to push back up, but the demand is going to decrease. Companies are going to go lay people off. They're only 10 years, 15 years older than they were before.
Sure.
So most of them are just going to leave the workforce.
Yeah.
Last time, they left to other industries. They stayed in the workforce. This time, they're just going to leave altogether.
Yeah.
They go away.
Yeah.
Out of the workforce, period. And then demand comes back. Ask the airlines.
Sure.
Talk to American Airlines right now.
Yeah.
How are you guys doing? They're getting the shit kicked out of them because they just put all of their old pilots into retirement.
Oh, yeah.
And you can't just go get a bunch of new pilots.
Yep.
You can't just go hire a bunch of people and throw them into a commercial aircraft.
Yep.
It doesn't work that way.
Yep.
It's the same thing with excavators. People think you can, though. They want to go hire some people, throw them into an excavator, and expect them to be digging, production digging that afternoon. You're like, what are you talking about? It just doesn't work that way.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know.
Now, caveat to that, we have been the company to throw guys off the deep end. Sometimes they learn to swim pretty quick, but as a whole, yes, it is a very skilled industry and it takes a very skilled workforce. You can't just snap your fingers and make it.
It can work if you're in a pinch, but that's not a sustainable model.
No,
because I've seen it tried.
And think about the safety issues that come with that.
That's exactly it. Yeah. So you can get away with it, but from a sustainable standpoint,
right?
From a quality standpoint, you're going to get your ass beat. from a safety standpoint, you're going to get your ass beat. I mean, just one accident.
Oh, yeah.
That's all it takes. And then you're written off.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one thing that I hate about, I shouldn't say hate. That's one thing about this industry is, we tell our people all the good things we're doing in the world, everything we've worked so hard for, and how far we've built and how far we've come means nothing as soon as somebody gets hurt with our name on their back and it's our fault. So as a growing company, that risk just gets larger and larger. And it's okay, what steps do I need to take that, if that call ever comes through to my phone, because maybe it's not the company's fault. Maybe some guy makes a stupid move and gets himself hurt. Mm-hmm. When that phone call comes, as business owners, what do I need to do now to make sure when that phone call comes that I know that I did everything in my power to educate, and try to keep these guys safe and know that it's not my fault, kind of a thing.
Yeah. No one ever wants to make that call, but I do have people out in the field, but I don't run a construction company.
Sure.
So I can't necessarily put myself perfectly into this position, but it's like people act like no one ever dies.
Yeah.
And that's a crazy thing to say. And I'm not saying we should just abandon safety.
Sure.
But it's at what point? And I struggle with safety a lot of times because it's not really about safety.
Sure.
It's about protecting.
Yeah.
It's about my liability. It's about my insurance. It's about my, the lawyers. It's about this contract. It's not really about caring for human beings.
Sure.
If it's for caring for human beings, I'm 110% on board.
Yep.
But a lot of the safety I see, it's not actually about caring for people.
Yep.
And that's what drives me nuts about it.
Yeah. But that's a problem we've created as well. We've done all these protocols and all these companies go to all these extents. OSHA isn't a bad thing in its core. Like, I'm not going to sit here and talk bad about OSHA. I love to joke about OSHA, as every good construction guy always does.
Of course.
But we've created an industry that's so terrified of OSHA, I'll make sure I'm fully compliant, or I'll harp on these guys to be compliant. But it's not because of, what it should be about. It's because I hope OSHA doesn't show up, So
yeah, but what's even worse is these companies, they make OSHA and MSHA into this boogeyman.
Yeah.
And so they make up these crazy rules that they say are OSHA rules, MSHA rules,
sure.
and MSHA is going to get us. OSHA is going to get us.
Sure.
They're not actually rules. They just use them as a scapegoat.
They're the bad guy.
Yeah, they make them into this monster that they're not. They're just there to make sure people don't die.
Yeah, great thing.
That's a pretty solid mission to me.
Definitely.
And yet they're contorted into this.
We've made him the bad guy. Yeah.
Because there always has to be a bad guy. Yep. It's not me.
Yeah.
Construction company or mining company. It's the OSHA guy.
Yeah.
And it's like, how is OSHA showing up to inspect it? How is that a bad thing?
Sure.
And that keeps you pretty honest.
Yeah.
Like, how is me showing up with the camera to photograph your company? That should be a good thing, because it's like, man, I need to keep my sites buttoned up. So anybody could come out here, take pictures. I'm going to be good to go.
Sure.
Again, I don't have a construction company.
Oh, you see it every day.
We've
all made OSHA into the villain, and OSHA's not a bad thing. I mean, it's a good thing. So
yeah,
you have to build the culture to know that, and build these guys that, hey, safety isn't just you're going to get yelled at if you don't have a ladder in the trench. Safety is making sure everybody around you goes home to their wives and home to their kids and home to their family.
It's about truly caring for people.
Yep.
It's about truly caring for people. And there's a book, Everybody Matters. I'm a huge fan. It's really informed.
Yeah, I was just about to start that, actually. Randy Blunt told me to read that.
10 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's written by Bob Chapman. I actually have a meeting with Bob Chapman in St. Louis next week.
Awesome.
Which I'm really stoked about. But his whole thing was the safety record. They run a lot of factories, and the safety record wasn't as good as it should have been.
Sure.
So instead of approaching it from a disciplinary point of view, they approached it from a true sense of caring about human beings point of view.
Sure.
Miraculously, safety's not a problem. But that's just not, again, it's just not how it's approached in a lot of situations.
Right.
It is disciplinary.
Do this, or this is going to come back.
Or you get fired.
Yeah.
I've seen companies, I've worked for companies that you make one mistake, you're fired.
Yeah.
You cause equipment damage, you're done. They fire you on the spot. And I'm just sitting here.
I wouldn't have a workforce left.
That's just it's not a sustainable business practice.
Yeah.
And then you're now say I go back my skid steer into something.
Sure.
I don't need to get yelled at. I don't need to be told I'm a jackass. I am telling myself I am a jackass.
Oh, yeah.
I feel as bad as I could about that.
Yeah.
So I don't need to get told that because I already know that.
Yeah.
And then 2, you go and fire me. Now you're spending the 10 grand or whatever it is to go repair your machine. You're going to go put a new person into that. The lesson's not been learned. It's going to happen again.
Yep.
And then I've learned that lesson. So now I go to your competitor.
Sure.
I'm not going to make that mistake again.
Yeah.
So now you just made the $10,000 investment in me, and I just went to go work for your competitor because you fired me.
Yeah.
And now you have to replace me. How expensive is it to replace somebody?
To just make that same mistake again.
And then you go fire them.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
No, it's funny. Just this morning, like 2 hours ago, I got a phone call from a young foreman that is really good. And he's got a loader man. He's a new loader man. He's been with us 6-7 months. So I get a call and it's, hey, Will, and I can tell something's wrong within the first couple seconds. And they act like you're going to blow up and you're going to scream. Well, Trent backed over the chop saw. This was 2 hours ago. Trent backed over the chop saw. It's a $1,200 chop saw, and $1,200 isn't nothing.
Yeah.
But I kind of laughed. I was like, I bet he won't do that again. He's like, yeah, he feels terrible. And I said, make sure Trent knows that it's okay. We all make mistakes. Just don't do it again.
Yeah.
And go buy a new chop saw. And Trent's a great guy. I can't wait to have him.
And that's the lesson.
Yeah.
That's the lesson learned.
Yep.
Now, if Trent goes and backs over 4 chop saws.
Yeah. Maybe that's a different conversation.
We need to have a.
Yeah.
I think there's reasonable cost there. But,
sure.
But, a chop saw here or there, that's cheap, man.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank God it was a chop saw. Because now he's going to know I need to be looking and I need to be paying attention when I'm running this machine.
Yeah.
It could have been a fucking person.
Yeah.
$1,200 for a chop saw to learn that lesson? Check.
Yep.
Write that check all day long.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I know Trent's still shaking his boots. He's probably like running the loader, really well right now. And that's fine. But I don't want him to think his job's in jeopardy because at previous employers it was for something like that. But it's part of growing as a person.
Yeah. I am still, every time I run a skid steer and I go down a slope, I am scared shitless.
From your little tumble backwards.
Yeah.
That was cool. I'd never seen somebody do a backflip with a skid steer.
Dude, I was told it was impressive by a lot of talented operators, but I am still
edged.
a little spooked.
Yeah, that's
but
good.
I just don't have the hours in a machine to have kind of worn that off.
Sure.
So I have, since that accident, maybe 10 hours in the machine.
Sure. Yeah. No 3-to-1s for Aaron anytime soon.
I stay away from slopes, dude. I just do flat work.
Yeah.
I remember I got it back. I was running it somewhere, and the guy where I was, he came up to me and he said it was Cody. I was at Whistling Diesel's place, and it was like an equipment circus out there.
Yeah,
because he just put a post on the internet. Hey, if anyone has a tractor coming out, we're doing a bunch of work.
Yeah.
So then a bunch of people just show up with tractors and excavators, and there's low boys in the road. It's just hilarious. So it's just like a pandemonium.
Yeah.
There's dirt flying everywhere. And so I bring my skid steer out. I'm cutting a little road, cleaning something up, nice and flat, nothing crazy. And he comes over. He's like, hey, we actually have some work over here on this slope. And I'm like, no, I'm good where I'm at.
Yep.
I ain't touching
one
the
of the
slope
YouTube
right
guys.
Like, yeah. All those other guys. There's a lot of other skid steers here. Yeah, there's like 12 other skid steers. Have one of them because I ain't touching that shit.
Yeah. I met Cody with the first gen Cummins. That was when he was just coming up in the truck game and the Instagram game, and I ran it. We just happened to be passed by each other, and I was a nice truck. He was a nice truck. So, instant respect,
Sure.
So we started racing back and forth, going up 31, US 31, potholes everywhere. That was in the days when he was driving around on like 16-inch wide racing slicks. He loses a wheel, like just flies off the truck, and he goes off into the median of the highway, and just completely lost the front A-arm assembly and everything. So I met Cody there, and I stopped and tried to help him, but respect the game. Everybody hates him, but I love it.
He's done that. It's manufactured.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
So what kind of advice do you have for young people thinking, maybe this tractors thing are pretty cool?
Yep. I don't know. Jump. I don't think I'm far enough along in life yet to be the advice giver, and I just don't. I haven't had many people ask me for advice, but take the risk. I mean, you're how old? 25 years old. Like, you've got time.
Yeah.
You've got time to rebuild. And that's a mindset. That's a mindset I have is, as a business owner, you're always thinking of everything that could go wrong that put the business under right now, you know. And I think about the things I could do wrong as a business owner, or the missteps I could take. You know, say we did have another 2008. Say I wasn't ready for that. I didn't have enough liquidity on hand, and you know, didn't have enough strength built for that, or whatever it is. And in the back of my head, I've got the mentality, you know, one way or another, I'll find a way. Who else is 20 years old, has done $20 million of revenue? Like I'm now the most lethal guy out here. Mm-hmm. I'm humble enough to know I could lose it all at any given moment, but I'm confident enough to know that I can rebuild all this and go so much further.
Sure. So, and you just have more time.
Yeah.
There's just more time there. Like, if nothing else, it's just like from a mathematical standpoint, a lot more runway.
Yep. So I think people need to take more risks and need to jump more often. Yeah, for sure.
I agree.
So, and stop worrying so much about what could happen when they jump. You know, I don't know what this economy is going to do. I'm not going to sit here and think about it and stew about it all day long. No matter what it does, I know I'll be out here working hard, getting crafty, being lean and mean, and figuring it out.
It's interesting watching a lot of business owners right now, because a lot of these people have a lot to lose.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's a lot of, as Andy Frisella says, there's a lot of people kind of going in their little turtle shells right now.
Sure.
And I think that's good to be prepared. Yeah. Because they lived through 2008 as a business owner.
We didn't.
Yeah. I don't know what that's like. Yeah. But I also, there's just a lot of fear and a lot of irrationality.
Yep.
And by everybody going in their little turtle shell, I think it does them a little bit of a disservice.
Sure.
I've observed that lately. And I don't control the economy. You don't control the economy, but I can control, I wake up.
Yep.
And what I do in between the time I wake up and the time I go to bed. Okay, great.
Yep.
So that's what I'm going to focus on.
Yep.
Everything else outside of there that happens, I don't dictate circumstances.
Sure.
I don't dictate what happens at the end of the day. Yeah. All I have control over is, okay, did I do my best from the time I woke up to the time I'm going to bed now? The answer is yes. Great day. Let's hopefully do it again tomorrow. If I get another shot, good. I got another shot.
Yep.
You know, give me the strength and courage to give this day everything I got.
Yep.
Good. And that's all you can do.
Yep.
That's all you can do.
You've already been blessed enough. Go and do something with it. So, and the mindset of volatility brings opportunity. You know, maybe this won't be such a bad thing. You know, this last 3 years has been great in the market. It's what took me from 0 to 50. Maybe the next 3 years are tough, but the next upswing is going to be 50 to 750. You know, so like I can see the silver lining no matter how dark I look at it.
I was having a beer with Herb Sargent last weekend.
Yeah.
He was in town, and he said his example was, you know, snow sucks for us because we can't work, but it's great for the ski resorts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the guys who plow snow.
Yeah. And then, you know, rain sucks for us in the summer, but it's great for the farmers, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's a great point. You know, there's someone is always doing well, no matter what the circumstances are. And if you approach it from that perspective, that's great.
And it's like the, I don't know what it was, Chinese farmer, you know, Dan Blazarian or whoever it was talking about, you know, the tale I'm talking about. It's circled around Instagram. It's basically a Chinese farmer. A farmer loses his horse and the whole town comes over and says, "Oh, that's terrible." And he says, "Well, maybe." And then the next day, 4 more wild horses come back with his horse. And the whole town comes over and says, "Well, that's fantastic." And he says, "Maybe." Mm-hmm. Next day, his son's riding the horse and he breaks his leg. Whole town comes over and says, "Oh, that's terrible." And he says, "Maybe." And then the next day, you know, the conscription officer's coming around taking guys for the draft and they pass his son by because he's got a broken leg. And it's just, there's a lot of cool stories out there or cool little mantras to go by. And that's one of them. Like, you don't know. No matter how bad it feels today, you don't know if it's a good or bad thing. You just do your best with it and keep moving forward.
That's it. Well, and even just assigning good or bad, is something really good or something really bad? Like, how are we making that decision?
Yeah.
Like, isn't it all just, it is what it is?
Yep. Yeah. No, I tell our guys, like, I'll have foremen call me or project managers call me and I can tell from the moment I pick up the phone, you know, they're discouraged. They've had a hard day. And they start telling me about all of it all and this and that. And I'll say, well, sounds like it wasn't a bad day, and kind of disarm the situation. And I always tell my people, there's no such thing as a bad day as long as no one gets hurt. It might not be a good day, might not be a great day, but it's not a bad day.
Yeah.
It's a day we learned something, and we're going to try to do better tomorrow. So it's just all mindset.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the same perspective with weather. There's no such thing as bad weather. It's just weather.
Yeah.
Like that's what weather is.
Yeah, it's Mother Nature. We work hand in hand with it.
It snows. Yeah. It's just weather.
Yeah.
How do people follow along with you, what you guys do?
As far as like social media or? Yeah. I mean, we're active on all the social media accounts. I like to have fun with it. So like if you come in my Facebook comments and you're a troll, I'm going to mess with you. So, but I enjoy that. Yeah. No, I mean, we're on all the social media platforms, and people ask me like, oh, social media manager and marketing guys and this and that. And, you might not like to hear this, but for me, I enjoy making the posts on social media.
No, that's
I
what
like
I
to
tell
have
people.
fun with it.
I tell people don't hire us.
Yeah. And it's not a thing of like, I'm not trying to look good from the client perspective. I mean, I am, but my main primary focus with what I do on social media is A, because I enjoy it, and B, because there's a lot of young guys like me that enjoy seeing that stuff. So like we attract future employees through the social media, and that's the whole game of it. It's not about finding the right clients through the stuff we do on social media. It might be part of it, but as a whole, it's for the people.
I have been trying to get out of doing social media for companies for years now. Sure. I keep getting shot down about it. I don't want to do it because it's a pain in the ass for us, and it does. If I did your social media, it's a disservice to you because I am telling your story. I would never hire someone to tell my story. It's my story. I want to tell it, and it's an essential part of business nowadays. 2022. That's just the reality.
Yeah.
So yeah, I that's how it should be. I'm stoked to hear that.
Good.
Yeah, and we're happy to help people get started.
For sure.
But you should get it to a point where you should take it upon yourself. Yeah. It should be fun.
I don't know how the big guys do the. I call them. I look around and still assign a lot of people the big guys title. I don't know who they've got running their social media, but they really need to figure that out because there's some 200-year-old companies where they post a picture and it's like, look at this dozer, and it's a motor grader. And it's like, what office girl you got running the Instagram? It just looks bad.
Yeah, that's someone sent me a picture of an Instagram profile of a company. So they made an Instagram profile, but they haven't posted anything yet.
Sure.
And this is a multi-billion-dollar company.
Sure.
Big time company. And he just goes, maybe they'll figure it out one day. I'm like, yeah, maybe. 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 But until then, they're going to talk about how they can't attract the next generation. Sure. I'm like,
nobody wants to work.
I've been saying it for a little bit. What do I know?
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep helping the people that want to be helped.
I'll make some people very mad at me. Yeah, we'll see. The union, the Indianapolis Union Hall or the local guys. How do you know anything about the union? Like, I don't understand that. Other than word of mouth, if you know a 60-year-old union guy, they've got no social media. They're not doing anything to endorse it. They're not doing anything to push their culture. There's nothing about their pride. Like, because I respect the union for the pride they built. There's some guys out there wearing union underwear, and they were union till they die. Yeah. I like that. I respect that.
Yeah.
What are they doing to bring in new young guys? The hall's sitting completely empty, and I've never seen any advertisement out of the union to attract young people.
I'm a huge fan of unions. I think it's fantastic. It's not going away anytime soon at all. Like it just is what it is.
Sure.
And it's dumb to argue non-union union. It's just like, no, it's just union or non-union. Yeah. And if you're in a union area, great. If you're non-union area,
there's pros and cons to both.
Check.
It's just two different things.
But they have the exact same problem everybody else does. The exact same problem.
Yeah.
They still have to fill up the bottom part, the apprentices, find those young people, and
I don't know how they do it.
They aren't right now.
Maybe that's why.
But they're no different than a majority of the industry. That's just where the industry's at.
Sure.
But it's just going to get to a point where they're going to have to. They don't have a choice anymore.
Yeah.
They don't have a choice.
Yeah.
But that's cool for somebody like you that understands that because that gives you the head start, the opportunity. Sure. The industry not understanding.
Terrible thing for the industry, great thing for me.
But the industry not understanding this is why I have a business. Yeah. Is why the opportunity we're looking at is so big. Yeah. If they had it figured out, I wouldn't exist.
Sure. Yeah.
So
And it's why I've been able to build a stable full of, young studs who didn't come from anything like this, and I'd put them up against the best of the best.
That's it. Yeah. All right. Great. Well, I appreciate you coming down here.
Yeah.
To talk shop.
You guys having me.
Yeah. So Willpower
Excavation.
I was looking at your shirt. That's pretty fancy.
Yeah, I made that logo in that same high school class that I founded my LLC from.
Well, I had a bulldozer in my logo.
Yeah, I remember that actually.
And then professionals stole it from me.
I remember the early days of BuildWitt, and I remember the early days of Turner Mining Group on Instagram, because that was right when I was, in the heat of my battle coming up.
The golden.
Good old days.
Yeah, right when you were coming up was when I was going through.
Yeah.
When I was slogging too, and just saying dumb stuff and ruffling feathers.
I'll always be thankful for it. Good to look back on, and it's what we had to do. That's what we did.
Be careful if you hire us for branding; they're going to steal your bulldozer.
I
know. They will steal it from you, and you won't even see it coming, and it'll just happen. You're like, damn it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Will, thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, guys.